During the 2023 season, the Kansas City Chiefs offense struggled compared to what we have seen in the Patrick Mahomes era, but the defense stepped things up. It was undoubtedly the best defense of the Patrick Mahomes era and probably the best defense of the Andy Reid era. And in the safety-heavy scheme employed by Steve Spagnuolo, we had a group of safeties that may have been the deepest and the most well-rounded and the best group of safeties that the Chiefs have had during the Spagnuolo era. Are those things coincidental or are they connected? Now, the Chiefs have lost Mike Edwards this offseason, but there are plenty of bodies there to replace Mike Edwards, whether or not they can be Johnny on the spot, like Mike Edwards seems to have been his entire career, is yet to be seen. But here is something interesting. In 2023, Justin Reid played 981 snaps of defensive football for the Kansas City Chiefs. Mike Edwards played 621 snaps of defense for the Chiefs. Brian Cook played 592 snaps. Then rookie Chamari Connor added 305 snaps of his own. Finally, rounding things out, Deon Bush played 774 snaps of defense for this group, which means the Chiefs averaged 151 snaps of safety play per game. Now, this is snaps of defensive back played by listed safeties. The Kansas City Chiefs are a fan of having listed defensive backs as well. And for this video, as well as tomorrow's video, for the cornerbacks, I had to make decisions on several players listed as defensive backs as to whether or not I thought that they were defense or corners or safeties. This is a video for the safety position. And as we just illustrated, with 151 snaps per game, the safety spot for this defense is absolutely critical. And repeating last year's safety play, or dare I say improving on last year's safety play, could be critical towards the Kansas City Chiefs three-peating for the first time in the NFL in the Super Bowl era. Here I have 7 players listed as safeties for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is roughly the sort of depth chart, if you will, that I see them having right now. And if you'll notice, there's Deon Bush, who played 74 snaps for the Chiefs at safety last season, is listed dead last, 7th place on this depth chart. Is that the way things will roll out for the Kansas City Chiefs this coming season? I don't know. But guys, it's very, very possible. Number 1, I have Justin Reid, a guy who has become an absolute stalwart for the Kansas City Chiefs defense. He has proven over and over again that he is going to get snaps for this Kansas City Chiefs team. As already stated, he played 981 last season, but guys, that was a huge step down from his 2022 season, where he played 1,113 snaps of defense. Now, here's the interesting part. 1,113 snaps was 97% of the defensive snaps for which Justin Reid was available in 2022. 981 snaps was 98% of the snaps for which he was available in the 2023 season, denoting how much improved this defense was at getting off the field. But it also is emblematic of the fact that in 2022 he played 17 games. In 2023 he did not have to. Last season, Justin Reid racked up 3 sacks, 95 tackles, 5 of those tackles for loss, 5 quarterback hits. The interesting thing about this is, though Justin Reid is the consummate professional, though Justin Reid is probably the best safety on the team, Justin Reid might also be the one guy that they're looking to move on from. Now, in my opinion, it is equally as true that they might look to re-sign him for the long term, but if you really just sort of pay attention to the moves that Brett Veach is making, how often it is that he brings safeties in, Justin Reid signed a 3-year, $31 million contract with the Chiefs and will be making $14.25 million this year, so I think probably unless he's going to take a similar contract on his next go-round, which I don't see happening now that he's added 2 rings to his resume, I think that this might be Justin Reid's last season with the Kansas City Chiefs. He has been an absolute stalwart, like I said, back there at the safety position, but Bryan Cook is entering his 3rd season. Jaden Hicks is a rookie. Chamari Connor is entering his 2nd season. The UDFA Trey Dean joined the Kansas City Chiefs at the end of last season, which was his rookie year. Najee Johnson is entering the 4th season of his rookie contract, entering the 3rd season of his rookie contract. Definitely the 3rd season. And Deion Bush is seemingly the only guy on the team besides Travis Kelce that's over 30. But Justin Reid will enter the season as the lead dog of this pack, and it would not shock me if the Kansas City Chiefs... So if we go back to that 2018 season, the Kansas City Chiefs played with a lead a lot, right? We are, I think, going to get a little bit more of that 2018 type feeling from the offense this season. They're going to be explosive. They're going to put up points. The reason that 2018 team didn't go to the Super Bowl, didn't win the Super Bowl, is because of the defense. This defense is way better than that defense. That 2018 offense got out to a number of very large leads that the defense then in turn gave up. I don't see that happening as much this season. So if the offense can put up those same types of numbers, then it's going to be interesting to see how much they leave Justin Reid on the field. I do not believe that this season he will end up playing 97 or 98% of the defensive snaps for which he is available. So if, for example, the reason I say that is if the Chiefs end up with a 14, 17, 21-point lead, something like that, you're going to see a whole lot more Jaden Hicks, Chamari Connor, and Trey Dean on the field than otherwise you would. And now we come to Bryan Cook, and the big question with Bryan Cook was going to be his health and what was the issue with that ankle to end his last season. But it seems that he is at full speed so far in OTAs. Now, Bryan Cook played 592 snaps last season through the first 12 games of the year before he had that injury, meaning that he was averaging a little over 49 snaps per game. So the fact that the defense was able to lose him and still be a very good defense says a lot about this position group in general. It will be interesting to see what happens now that Mike Edwards is gone. Interestingly, he was sent on the blitz 7 times during his rookie season, but not a single time in his 12 games as a starter last year. And it would be easy to write that off as he didn't play all 17 games, but he played nearly twice the snaps. Now, obviously, it is better not to get pressure, not to have to use, I guess I should say, the defensive backs in order to get pressure on the quarterback. And indeed, the Chiefs were second in the NFL in sacks yet again last season, despite not having to use the defensive backs on the pass rush quite so often. But if you are going to blitz a safety, Bryan Cook seems like the perfect type of safety to blitz, even if it may be that he ends up getting too aggressive once in a while. And now, possibly the most controversial thing that I am projecting here, Jaden Hicks being that third safety. The Chiefs love to run three safeties out there onto the field. But guys, Jaden Hicks is like 2/3 of a linebacker. 6'1", 215, runs a 4.49 40. He's the Leo Chanel of the safety group here, and he's only 21 years old. And now, so here's Jaden Hicks is a very good, well-rounded safety. He just happens to be a big guy. He's good against both the pass and the run is what I'm saying. But now, when you take a step back, if this ends up being the top three safeties for the Kansas City Chiefs, remember just a few years ago, Spags would roll his three safeties out there, and you had the enforcer safety, the thumper type safety, who was really Daniel Sorensen. You had the pass cover, so the thumper type enforcer safety, who's supposed to be solid against the run. That was Dan Sorensen. You had the corner back heavy type safety in Juan Thornhill, who was really to be used more against the pass. His strengths were more his athleticism and his abilities in coverage. And then you had the free safety type guy in Tyrann Mathieu, who was out there to sort of spitball on the field and hopefully come up with some big plays. But guys, with this defense, Justin Reid, Bryan Cook, Jaden Hicks, all three of them are the big enforcer-type safeties. All three of them can play the pass, right? And I think last year it was Justin Reid more than any of the other safeties who was trusted to sort of be the center fielder and be the true safety, the deepest man on the field, etc., at least when the defense had its full hand. I think last year Bryan Cook was more of the enforcer-type guy. And, I mean, what does that leave Jaden Hicks to do this year? Is he going to be the center fielder? Is he going to be the enforcer at 215 pounds? Is he going to be the guy? And I think he's a pretty good coverage guy as well. But if you're an offense and you're looking at a defensive backfield of those three safeties, 6'1", 207, 6'1", 206, 6'1", 215, then you have Jalen Watson at one cornerback spot who's 6'2", Joshua Williams at one of the cornerback spots who's 6'3". Then you got Leo Chanel at 6'2", 250 or 6'3", 250 at the linebacker position. This is just a very, very big defense, and it's starting to really look like the NFL is going to have to evolve again. We have all of these offenses with all of these little guys running all around the field and hoping they don't get hands put on them, because if they do, they're straight on the ground, Tyreek Hill, and defenses around the league had to adjust and get lighter and get quicker and get smaller, and now the Chiefs are bringing it full circle back to the great big guys on their defense. Then I have Chamari Connor at the fourth safety position. And look, last year the Chiefs saw their fourth safety, Chamari Connor, play 305 snaps. So it's not like being the fourth guy on this defense is all that big a step down. I think Chamari Connor showed some things last year. I just don't think that he's quite Bryan Cook or Justin Reid as far as being veterans on this team goes, and I don't think he's quite Jaden Hicks as far as being an absolute nightmare for an offense to have to go up against. I do think Chamari Connor is a little bit better suited to be that sort of safety in the middle of the field, the center fielder, the catch everything and make sure nothing gets behind you guy than any of the three above him. But right now, I don't know if that gets him on the field very much. He is a little bit more of a dynamo than he gets credit for, and a little bit more than he will get credit for, as long as he is sort of the smallest guy in the room at any given time with 207, 206, and 215 ahead of him. He did have a 40.5-inch vertical, a 10-foot 5-inch broad jump, and he did do 20 reps on the bench press. So he's not a little weak guy, and it might be that he ends up passing someone on the roster this season. I just don't know that I saw enough last season to be able to project that happening. But if it does, if Chamari Connor is able to make noise this season, guys, the Kansas City Chiefs will be very, very good for a very, very long time, and let me tell you why. Because Justin Reid's departure, in the event that Bryan Cook, Jaden Hicks, and Chamari Connor are all legitimate NFL safeties, Brett Veach is absolutely going to trust himself to find a fourth guy some way else. And if the Chiefs do not have to re-sign Justin Reid at the end of this season, that frees up a whole lot of cap space. Obviously, as he will be a scheduled free agent, it's not going to remove any of the payroll that the Chiefs have already allotted, but it will allow someone like Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Nick Bolton to get on that second contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. And that just continues the rotation of players that you've got a very upper tier on the roster with Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce. Then you've got your middle-class guys like Justin Reid. If one of those middle-class guys moves on to another team and there is a low-pay rookie wage scale guy to take his spot, then you get to make one of your expiring rookie contracts into a middle-class type number. And then we have one of the more compelling names, one of the more interesting names. He will be one of the training camp names that we get pop up for the Kansas City Chiefs every season in Trey Dean. Trey Dean was a UDFA last season. He came into the league for the New York Jets. Ended up not making that roster halfway through the season, late in the season. And there's no sin in that. That was a very good defense, right? Here's the problem for Trey Dean. It might be his decision-making skills, because you can see on that screen right there, he ran a 4.68 40-yard dash. If you're going to run a 4.68 40-yard dash, you do not run the 40-yard dash. You leave it as a mystery, as did Bryan Cook. It is very, very widely rumored that Bryan Cook was going to run a 4.6 type 40, a mid 4.6 type 40. He decided not to run the 40-yard dash and ended up being a second-round pick. Trey Dean was an absolute sweetheart of the YouTube draft community. He's a guy that didn't do a whole lot in his college career, but once he got onto the all-star circuit afterwards, he really made a name for himself on the field. He didn't do good in testing, and he did not have a great college career. Therefore, he falls out of the draft. And once he got into the league, Bryce Huff had a great quote on him saying, quote, "Trey Dean has been a huge inspiration to me. Just him coming in undrafted reminds me of myself. He has that fire, that chip on his shoulder. He just came out every day to practice, getting better and better every day. He was the same guy every day, full speed. I really wish he would have been able to dress up throughout the season, but he just wasn't able to get the opportunity. He's probably going to be a great safety in this league, just how he works, just relentlessly. He does not stop every day." End quote. That is the type of quote you love to hear about a guy who joins the team as an undrafted rookie free agent. But guys on this team, very talented. On this defense, very talented. As a defensive back for the Kansas City Chiefs, a group that is very talented. And the safety spot here, where a guy who played 74 snaps of defense last season looks to be the 9th best player on this squad. If there are going to be opportunities for Trey Dean, he's going to have to make them, and then he's going to have to take them. In the world of business, there is a quote, there is a saying, maybe it would more aptly be described as a label. There is a label for CEO pay packages, and there is a label known as eat what you kill, which means if you are the CEO of that company, you get zero unless that company is run well, right? You take a $1 pay and then you bonus out for company performance. That's exactly how this safety position, that's exactly how the cornerback position as well is going to work. It is going to be very eat what you kill. If you are absolutely murdering in practice, you will see the field on Sunday. If you absolutely slay on the field Sunday, you're going to be the starter on Monday. There is too much talent on this roster right now for things to go any other direction. And all of that talent is young. All of that talent has the ability, has the window to get even better. And I hate to call for preseason trades again, but when you look at the safety group, guys, they might be in position to nickel and dime somebody out of a late-round draft pick for one of these names at the bottom of the roster. Maybe not Deon Bush because he's kind of proven that he's a special teams guy in the league, but special teams guys get acquired via trade all the time. Especially with this new kickoff format, it is going to be interesting to see what type of new value they acquire. But Trey Dean, Najee Johnson, if those guys get some shine in the preseason, it would not surprise me if Brett Veach is able to flip one of them for a 6th or 7th round pick. And so Trey Dean was absolutely free. The Jets released him. He signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. That's free. Najee Johnson was a 7th round pick 2 years ago. So at this point, flipping either of them for draft capital would be a massive win for the Kansas City Chiefs. And next, looking there at Najee Johnson, I really think he might be more of a cornerback than a safety in the NFL. I think that he, last year before he went out, proved that he has a whole lot of movement abilities. In the back of my mind, I could have sworn that he was starting to practice with the cornerbacks, and that's when his injury happened. He is listed currently as a safety by the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's crazy to have to put Najee Johnson all the way down here on this depth chart as well, because he really was coming on right before his injury. Looked like he was going to earn himself some playing time, find himself on the field, and then boom, he misses an entire season. But I just don't know what to do with this many players at this point. And that's going to be very obvious tomorrow in the cornerback video. And if Najee Johnson is able to pick up where he left off last season when he was injured, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. Lastly, Deon Bush, who is safer on the roster than either Najee Johnson or Trey Dean because of the definitive value that he brings for special teams. Ironically, he only played 120 snaps of special teams last season, but in 2022 he played 317 snaps of special teams for the Kansas City Chiefs, and his days of special teams go all the way back to 2016 with Chicago, where he played 78 snaps his rookie season, 183 as a sophomore, 248, then 262, then 193, then 203. He is a special teams guy, and he will probably have a pretty long NFL... Well, he's already had a long NFL career, but he'll probably be able to play quite a few more years if he proves valuable on the new kickoff team as well. But that's it, guys. Those are the safeties, at least as far as I can figure it. There is a lot of depth in that unit. If you want to talk about depth, we will be back tomorrow for the cornerbacks. There's, I believe, 11 guys at cornerback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they just signed one. I don't know when. I have no idea. I can't remember his name right now. DJ Battle, maybe? Something like that. A guy that was signed last month. I have no idea when it happened. It never crossed my radar, but that's all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance, but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing that I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and I hope to have you back for the next one.